Hi guys, StudyDubs here, and today I'm doing a video review on the One More Dual Driver ANC Pro. Now I previously reviewed another ANC product by One More and I wasn't too impressed, but this time I think we've hit the nail on the head. So in this review I'll be covering everything you need to know about these earphones. They can be found for around £145 in the UK and around $150 in the US. If you live in these territories or indeed elsewhere, the locally link in the description below will take you to your localized Amazon store. So let's get into it. So first off, let's talk about what you actually get in the box. Now, the reason I show you the box is because actually the ear tips, I couldn't actually get them out of the box, but you can see over here that I've actually used the medium tips. It comes pre-installed with the larger 15.5mm tips. I found them a bit too large for my ear canal. I usually go for medium, so therefore I'm using the 13mm ones. Of course, your mileage may vary. It's all very much subjective, and you will want to ensure you've got a good fit for not only a good seal, but also to achieve the best sort of sound quality. Now, inside the box, you've got a decent selection, but it's, I'll say, somewhat odd, but let's go through them. You've first of all got stickers and manual, which is just nice to see, I guess. You've got the earphones, which I'm going to touch upon in just a bit. You've got a carrying pouch, which in all honesty looks a bit tacky. It's a bit silvery and kind of looks pretty cheap, but anyway, it's nice to see it's included, so you can stow away the earphones in their pouch. Then you've got a USB Type A to USB Type C charging cable. It's great to see it's a flatline cable, so therefore it doesn't get tangled very easy. It's quite short, mind you, but anyway, that you can use any USB Type C cable. And then you've got a fabric USB Type C to 3.5mm jack. It's a 2-pole connector only, as far as I'm aware. Now, what's quite interesting about this connector is that unlike what you might expect for it to be used passively, in other words, you don't have to use the battery, this still requires the earphones to be on in order for you to actually utilize this connection. So I'm not really sure the purpose behind that, but I guess if you've got a non-Bluetooth device, let's say you're in an airplane and you want to use these earphones but still benefit from ANC and all that stuff, then you can use this connection. So it's there for your convenience. I didn't really use it because I tested them over Bluetooth. Now, speaking of Bluetooth, I've got an Android phone and therefore it's capable of LDAC codec. For those who are not aware, LDAC codec, it provides the highest quality of Bluetooth transmission. Now, these also do support AAC and they also support the SBC codecs. So therefore, if you do want to use those codecs, if you're on other devices, let's say on iPhone or iOS, then you can use those as well. Now, in this respect, I didn't notice any sort of video delay between my my smartphone, which is the S10 Plus, and the earphones. I had no lip sync problems, and actually I was very impressed in terms of the overall range that they had. In this respect, the earphones basically went for over 15 to 20 meters through walls, which is actually ridiculously impressive because most of the time I do have a bit of cutouts, but in here they actually performed very well with my phone. Now, in terms of battery life, as far as this goes, it's really dependent. Actually, One More have it on their website. I will suggest you to look at it. Here you can see a picture I took, and you can see the battery life really depends on the way you use it and depending on the codec. In my case, I use LDAC, and in this respect, with ANC on, you'd be looking at about 7.5 hours, whilst in its best scenario, it's AAC, 20 hours with ANC off. So it really depends on your usage, but expect around 7.5 hours to up to 20 hours of usage. So that's pretty wide spectrum. Now, next up, we're going to talk about the build quality of the earphones. Now, as you might expect, these are a neckband design. It's pretty obvious, as you might be able to see. What's nice about this neckband design, it can be pretty easily stowed away, be it from its case or in your pocket, and the fact that the neckband design is actually pretty lightweight, and therefore I actually took it out on a run and I didn't have any issues with it kind of bouncing around. It seems to have a good weight at the front over here, whilst a lightweight design, and it also is quite easy to clean. So if you are a lady, for example, or a man who wears makeup, then you're not going to have any problems wiping this off, whilst other earphones which have a white headband design will show up pretty quickly with any sort of dirt. Now, in terms of the controls, I'm a kind of like a pro and con about it. In this respect, all of the controls are on the left-hand side, and it can be a little bit overwhelming to find out where the controls are. But after you own these earphones for a little while, I think you'll make out that the ANC button's at the front, you've got the wind reduction bit under it, you've got on and off there, and then you've got plus and minus, and plus is towards you, minus is away, and then you've got play, pause, and it's a multifunctional button which allows you to answer and receive calls, and also if you double press it goes next, triple press it goes previous, as you might expect from multifunctional Bluetooth devices. The USB Type-C connector is also over here. This also accepts fast charge, so you can quickly charge it for a short amount of time. Now, the actual the design of this little thing over here can be a little bit flimsy. As you can see over here, it's being a little bit annoying to put back in. But anyway, let's move past that and talk about the buttons. Now, the reason I want to talk about the buttons is because specifically to do with the modes. Now, if you use these earphones and you have ANC on and you bought them for ANC, you're going to have ANC on. Then you turn them off and then you turn them back on again, and then ANC just magically disables. I checked this via the app, I checked this via the physical button, and every single time I turned on the earphones, the ANC would be disabled. It wouldn't remember its previous mode. Furthermore, the wind reduction mode can't be used in conjunction with ANC. I'm not sure if that's due to the way that the mics work and the way they have to pick up and feed them onto your ears, but that's another thing that I want to kind of point out. You can't use the modes simultaneously together. As soon as I enabled ANC, it would disable wind reduction mode and vice versa. Now, another thing I found quite kind of frustrating is that when it comes to ANC, you've got 3 levels: off, mild, and on. And this can be seen via the One More app. Now, what I found is that when you're cycling between on, as in full mode, and mild mode, there's a brief period where the ANC goes off and on again, and therefore can be a little bit distracting. I would have liked to see a nice, small, seamless transaction between the top mode and the mild mode. Now, this might seem very trivial to some people watching this video, but when you actually own earphones and you use them on a daily basis, I try and review things as a consumer, and therefore these are things that I pointed out. This, of course, can be fixed via firmware update. I'm not sure if One More will either listen to this video or do it themselves, but anyway, it's just something that I did find when I was testing these earphones and comparing them to other earphones on the market. Now, I touched upon its design and in terms of how it folds away, but in terms of comfort, I must say I'm pretty impressed, specifically because the earphones as well have this magnetic type of design which allows them to stow away pretty nicely around your chest. This doesn't do anything, whereas normally some other earphones have a design where display and pauses or switches off the earphones. This is not the case. This is just purely just for your convenience. But I do like the overall comfort of the earphones because the design of the earphones is like an angular shape and therefore makes them fit pretty well, and I had no issues fitting them in, at least in terms of my ears. One thing to note in terms of comfort, it is quite interesting to see that the ear tips themselves are oval shaped rather than circular shaped, and this is also reflected on the nozzle. Now, I find this a little bit odd because after having reviewed over 300 audio related devices and a lot of earphones in this respect, it's actually very rare to find an oval shaped nozzle or ear tip. This can be a little bit of a problem if you're looking to buy ear tip replacements, but it's just worth bearing in mind. I just thought to point it out because I don't really see that quite often. Now, I wanted to quickly touch upon the app before I move on. It's pretty simplistic. I would have liked to see an EQ function here. Unfortunately, it's not there. But you do get the battery level plus a percentage indication. You can see battery 100%. You can adjust the noise cancellation modes, and they do also affect when you actually press the button as well, so it will change the modes independently there. Enable or disable wind reduction, and you can update firmware. In my case, I'm running version 1.2.1 at the time of making this video, and here's a little bit of a quick start guide to the product as well. So now we get onto the performance quality of this review. First of all, let's talk about call quality. Now, here I was pretty impressed because not only do these earphones have ANC and therefore make you a little bit more in tune with your recipient's voice, but it also has a really good ability of blocking out ambient sound for the recipient. So therefore, when they're calling you and you're in a busy environment, let's say some roads are going, like cars are going and you're on by a road, or you're in a cafe or something like that, these earphones do a really good job at cancelling out that sound and focusing on your voice only. So call quality was actually very impressive, and I must say that in comparison to other earphones at its price range, I think it's among one of the best. And it does give a lot of earphones which are kind of renowned for their call quality a good run for their money. And now let's get on to ANC. Now, these earphones really did impress because I not only compared them to over-the-ear noise cancelling earphones, but also some of the best true wireless ANC in-ears. So to give you an example, when I was comparing these to the Bose NC700s, not only did these outperform the Bose NC700s, but they provided a much better overall ANC experience. Now, I didn't have the 1000 XM3 over-the-ear headphones to test to, and which I would deem as the best noise cancelling headphones on the market, but these would be pretty close, if not similar, in terms of performance. Now, then I compare them to earphones, which is what you would actually compare them to because they are earphones at the end of the day and not over-the-ear headphones. And here, these earphones pretty much outclassed any sort of earphones I had or tested in the past with noise cancellation. And yes, that also includes the Sony WF-1000XM3 true wireless earphone. That is somewhat mind-blowing because I wasn't expecting this type of ANC performance from One More. I mean, let's be honest, they're not really known for their ANC performance, and yet they've come out with a product which trumps every other earphone I've heard when it comes to ANC. Ultimately, all I'm trying to say over here is that these are not only among the best noise cancelling earphones that I've ever heard, but they're also the best noise cancelling Bluetooth device that you can actually potentially buy on the market. At least from my extensive list of earphones and headphones I've tested, these come out pretty much on the top, if not among the top tier earphones and headphones. That aside, let's talk about sound quality. Now here is where the earphones kind of fell short. So when I mentioned about ANC, I tested the sound quality with ANC off, on, mild, and on at full blast. Here the sort of noise cancellation levels greatly affect the overall sound quality, which isn't something that's normally now accustomed to on some headphones or earphones. So for example, the Bose NC700s don't really get affected all that much by the different levels of ANC. In some respect, I will say that it somewhat affects it in a kind of positive manner. I felt that the best sound quality I got over the LDAC codec, as I mentioned before in terms of Bluetooth, was actually on the mild ANC mode. Reason behind that? Well, on the off mode, I found that the sound quality was a bit too tinny and it was a bit too sibilant on the highs. On the mild version, it kind of brought down the highs and accentuated the mid bass a little bit. Whilst on the highest ANC level, it accentuated the mid bass a bit too much and then skewing that level of the highs, bringing them a bit too down and making them sound very V-shaped sounding, and well, not even V-shaped because you've got a tail off on the highs, so it just sounded a little bit drowned out. In this respect, because I'm reviewing ANC earphones and because I suspect some people will want to buy these for their ANC functions, specifically because of the high praise I've just given them, then I'm going to judge my sound quality on the highest ANC mode, which gives you that accentuated bass. So let's go through the sound frequencies. First off, we've got the sub bass. It's pretty pronounced and it's pretty well extended. It does cut off towards the low end frequencies and isn't going to provide you that low end rumble that some people will crave, but on the whole, it's decent. In terms of the mid bass, it's pretty punchy, it's pretty forward sounding, and in this respect is a little bit overpowering, specifically when it comes to the mid range. The mids here are pretty drowned out, they're pretty recessed and pretty pushed back, and it's not that impressive when it comes to vocal track. Then moving on to the highs, they're decent, they are rolled off at the top end, and as I mentioned before, they do sound a little bit harsh and sibilant even on the highest ANC mode, but they're perfectly acceptable, at least to my ears. And then finally we get onto the soundstage, and here I feel that the earphones were a little bit let down. They felt a little bit claustrophobic, they didn't feel as open and as airy. If I compare them to over-the-ear headphones, it's kind of unfair. But then I compare them to, let's say, the Libertron Track Air Plus, those true wireless earbuds, and in here the Libertron Track Air Plus have got fantastic instrument separation. Yes, they don't have the best width and depth in terms of soundstage, but they were better than the One More dual driver ANC Pros. So in this respect, I was a little bit disappointed by One More because in comparison to the triple driver, or let's say the quad driver, which sound a lot more open and have got a good sort of width and depth, at least for in-ear earphones, in this respect, the dual driver design just doesn't convey that same sort of level of width and depth that you'd expect from the soundstage department. So what's the verdict on these earphones? Well, my honest and unpaid, unbiased review would be the fact that these are very much as the title would suggest, the best noise cancellation earphones I've ever come across. However, are these earphones that you should buy? Well, that's up to you. Personally, I'm a little bit of an audiophile. I like listening to good sounding earphones. And for around £150, I could buy myself the Libertron Track Air Plus. They've got noise cancellation. Okay, they don't have the LDAC codec, but other than that, they're, for me, more convenient. Again, they don't perform as well in the ANC department, but they're far superior in terms of the sound quality department. And for me, that is what I would prioritize, and that would be ultimately my recommendation. So there we have it, guys. That's been my honest review. Let me know in the comments below what you make of these earphones, if you own them or were thinking about them. And of course, like, subscribe, favorite and share, as it will always help the channel grow and allows me to continue doing these type of videos. Alright guys, I've been Totally Dubbed, take care and bye bye.